Good to have you on the line. I suppose it's hard to go past him off the top when someone who's been there for as long as he was, Alistair Clarkson, 17 years or the better part of. I'm interested how long it does take or has taken in the aftermath of that for I guess, the side to feel like, Sam Mitchell's side down there.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think sometimes we think it probably takes a little bit longer than what you'd expect. What I would say is that our club was extremely fortunate to have Clarko steering the ship for such a long period of time, and he left an amazing legacy in the sense that he embedded some really strong standards and values, and Sam's been able to pick up and grow those. But we've all worked in business places where we think, oh gee, if someone leaves, how are we going to fill that hole? But it's amazing once the new person steps in, and if they're a quality person and good at what they do, how quickly you move on. And I think that's how I'd explain, what's happened at the Hawks is that, Sam had been preparing himself for a long period of time to coach at AFL level. He was well and truly ready to get that opportunity, and he's just stepped in so seamlessly. But that's not, as I said, not discounting the amazing contribution that Clarko's made to our club.
Philosophically, Rob, in the way the game is played or should be played if you're wearing brown and gold, are they much different? Are we going to see a different Hawthorn on the field this year, noticeably different perhaps?
I wouldn't say noticeably different, but there's this similarity between the two of them is that they both have a strong belief in how they want to play the game, and they're willing to step outside the norms. They're willing to create their own identity as a coach. So they're both not followers. So there's a little bit of Sam that won't be Clarko, but there's also something that's been part of our football club that I think Sam will hold on to as well. So I think the thing that I'm seeing when I watch training, and we've had a couple of intra-club matches in the lead up to this Collingwood game, is that I do see that the team has definitely been drilled to try and open up scoring opportunities. Sam was always one who could creatively think of how to get through any form of congestion to create opportunity, and I think that's going to be a bit of a stamp on how Sam wants the brown and gold to play football. But again, I don't discount that there's plenty of what's been part of our game that'll continue to be seen by Hawks supporters.
Rob, when you refer to stepping outside the norm and Clarkson and Mitchell doing that, what's an example of that?
I just think you'll see maybe a little bit more of us taking the game on, Kane, and looking to move the ball a little bit quicker than maybe what we have. I think that's probably, and Sam's probably a person who will explore angles and opportunities, and I think that will be something that Hawks fans will grow to enjoy, and the important part is then you've got to be able to defend behind it as well. So we haven't lost sight of that.
It's been 12 months since you've been in the chair and appointed. When you were appointed, you had a clear vision. You said we're going to look to develop the players that are currently on our list, particularly the younger ones, and trying to fast track that. It feels like a lot's gone on in the last 12 months, but where are you at personally, that vision of developing the list? Where's it at? Yeah,
we're really pleased. While there has been a little bit of distraction, maybe more from the outside than the inside, that we've kept really strong to that vision, Kane. And it's important, where we are as a football club, that, we understand that for us to get back to compete at the end of the season and late in September, that we have to go through a phase where, we continue to build and rebuild the list. We have to grow and develop our talent, and we have to embed the values and standards that will hopefully give you ongoing success when you get back there. And that hasn't deviated. And I think what I'm really proud of is that even during that phase where we probably, we're under the spotlight a little bit in terms of the transition from Clarko to Sam, the playing group and the football department showed their conviction to that in that late part of the season. And we got some of our better performances as we finished the year, and we'd like to hope to build on that. If I could actually even individualise a little bit. You think of last year and young Mitch Lewis gets 14 games, which gets him just above 30 in total. Young Moore gets 20. Jive gets another 16. Again, those players have shifted into players who were sort of in their teens when they started the year in terms of games in 2021 and are now moving into their mid-30s. We expect the growth that we saw in those players to continue with another 20 games and they go past 50. So that's exciting for our club. But then the other part is those players who got, somewhere between sort of 5 and 10 games, and I talk of guys like Newcombe and Granger Barras, Bramble, Brockman, and even Nash, who's been on our list for a long time. We feel that this season's really pivotal. Another 15 or 20 games into those players, and they move into that bracket of playing sort of 30 or more, and it's got to be good for our club and our longer term vision of creating players that we think will play in our next flag.
You alluded to the outside narrative, I guess, at the Hawks, and that came about with the trade period. And when you put big names up for trade, it's always going to be a big story. So is that accurate that it was just an outside narrative? Did you not expect it would develop into a big story when you're putting the likes of O'Meara and Bruce and Wingard up for trade that is unsuccessful?
Yeah, look, this is the other part about us becoming a side that continues to improve. Our better players need to play well. So that group of players are still really, really important to our football club. And I'd like to think that the relationship that I have with all those players would mean that during that period, if they were disgruntled or disappointed or disillusioned by what was taking place, that they would have come and had a conversation with me. And to a man, we had lots of conversations, but none around being disgruntled or disappointed about what the vision of the football club was. And realistically, Kane, there was only two that there was any sort of form of interest in from the outside, and two that really only got to a point where they sat down with Sam and talked about, what is best for both them and our football club, and that was Luke Bruce and Chad Wingard, and the interest come from GWS. It wasn't us, peddling the interest to GWS.
So it is a business, obviously, Rob, and the players, all those players have been around long enough and big enough and ugly enough to understand all of that. But having said that, the strategy was clear. Will that strategy remain the end of this year? Will you look to again trade into the first round to get a stronger hand and fast track this transition that you're on?
Yeah, I think the strategy, and I don't think our strategy is any different to any club, to be honest. And that's been the interesting part of the narrative in the outside world. The whole reason you have a trade period, or if you're looking at strategy around a trade period, is you've got two options. You've got a chance to bring a player in and improve your list, or you've got a chance to hopefully improve your draft hand. And you explore and need to be open to both those things, and we'll continue to do that, but not at the risk of disrupting the culture of our football club. And that's why it's important, that open and frank conversations take place. But yeah, you need to use the mechanisms that are available to you. And I'll be absolutely flabbergasted if every club doesn't go to the trade saying, well, look, there's two levers here. We could bring a player in and that'll improve our list, or we could look to improve our draft hand. And we'll continue to do that year on, year out, regardless of what the scenario is.
We're not going to dwell on the trade period all chat, of course, but just quickly, the difference with one of those players this year as opposed to last is Chad Wingard's out of contract at the end of this year, and Jack Gunston is another one who's out of contract. Have you started talks with either of those two guys, conscious of the fact that the season we're on the doorstep thereof, but you guys are always planning 1, 2, 3 and 4 steps ahead, of course?
Yeah, and I'd imagine that our list manager in Mark McKenzie is obviously got a keen eye for players out of contract at the end of the season, and conversations with managers do start to take place, maybe even well and truly before today, in regards to that. Your planning is a number of years out, and the idea of being in front of the game is really important as well. So yeah, Mark does an amazing job in terms of those conversations, and we'll continue to to look at our list in a manner that allows us to continue to grow and improve as a football club. We want to get back to that position that our supporters have become pretty accustomed to, and that's playing finals footy and getting another opportunity to really compete for a cup.
So what would the expectation be for Hawks fans this year?
Yeah, it's a good one, and one that we need to be really selling really strongly. And I think the thing is for us at the moment, it's continued improvement. Kane, we think we've got an exciting developing list. We've got a new coach, and we're really keen to see how this group can grow. So we want to put more games into them. We want to see that growth in terms of performance on the field, but we're also really, really understanding that through this period we're going to have a few ups and downs. So I hope what our fans will see is the excitement of the future. I hope what they'll see wins that they go to the footy and they didn't expect to get, but I also want them to sort of buckle in a little bit, because we're going to go through a period where some days we'll go to the footy expecting to win, and we'll get that inconsistent performance that happens as players are just getting games into them. But I'm really excited by what I've seen. I'm really excited by Sam's ability to galvanise the group towards a new era. And I'm really excited by the fact that the playing group has embraced that, and they want Hawthorn to be great again.
Just a quick one, Rob, or two quick ones. Ben Mcavoy, I mean, Max Lynch comes across, Segler leaves, Ned Reeves is there. What does it all mean for your new captain? Will he play ruck? Will he play back? Will he play forward? Where will he play?
Yeah, if you ask Sam that question, he'll say he'll play in all those positions.
Yep.
Because he doesn't like to give too much away. Look, I'm watching again as we prepare for Collingwood, and I see that Ben's going to probably start the year as a player who plays a little bit more forward, and gives one of those two young ruckmen a chop out through the game. What's become really noticeable is those two are going head to head, and they really both want that first ruck spot in terms of Reeves and Lynch, and that competition for spots has been really, really good for us in terms of pushing along that development. But yeah, I think what we'll see is we'll see him play forward and support our young developing ruckman.
Rob, we wish you well. Really appreciate you joining us, and great to hear this morning confirmation your Amy Community Series game is down in Devonport Oval down in Tassie there, a tribute for the families affected by the Hillcrest Primary School tragedy in the northwest of Tassie. So best of luck with the season to come, and well done on getting down to Tassie.
Yeah, good on you guys, and we look forward to getting down and supporting that community. A community that's had a tragic accident, and hopefully we can just bring a smile for a small period of time while we're down there.
Good on you, Rob McCartney there from the Hawks. We'll be back, Summer Brecky, after this.